Well, ladies and gentlemen, it's happened, it's complete, the Newcastle takeover is done. Big money, Dempey's over at the Toon, St James's Park, the curse of Mike Ashley is broken, and with that, new questions to be asked from new owners. Of course, we know the Qatari issue with the piracy of the broadcast of beIN Sports was sorted out, therefore the deal after that rapidly got done. The deal's done! Newcastle are now funded by owners that have £350 billion. They're looking at Frank Lampard, Antonio Conte report suggests. We're going to go through that for a BBC article that confirms all this stuff. Do consider dropping a like and subscribing if you dig the content. Certainly likes are very kind of you. Thank you. Also, shout out to Hugh Wizzy and his brand of Fraudencia. I'll try and throw a link in the description. Go check it out now. I'm really happy with the cap. It looks ruddy wicked and I'm repping the fraud gang. So BBC Sport, let's see what they're saying. Serious things going on here. How did it happen? What is the vision? And what about Steve Bruce? Somebody figure Steve Bruce. I'm reporting on this because it's a monumental story in football and it does affect Chelsea Football Club, by the way. If you see #cans trending on social media in the next 48 hours, it is Newcastle fans who will be responsible. The hashtag is a reflection of their joy and getting the beer cans in as £300 million Saudi Arabian backed takeover has finally reached a conclusion. The fact it has now happened after 18 months, is a complete shock too. Last week, supporters were celebrating when they learned of a January arbitration date. Now, one of the most complicated takeovers in the league's history is over. Fans can dream of a brighter future. A future without owner Mike Ashley, and one in which the club can compete with Europe's biggest teams thanks to the billions the Saudi Public Investment Fund, brackets PIF, can provide. Let's have it right, ladies and gentlemen. Newcastle United, I don't know why I was telling you to subscribe again, but consider doing that, are now rich. Newcastle United are rich. They're Man City rich. They're PSG rich. They're richer than both of them. Wow, just absolutely incredible. There may be issues still to resolve, however. How will Saudi Arabia's human rights record reflect on the club? Will the Premier League explain how it came to a resolution with the consortium? How much money will Newcastle have to spend? And what of manager Steve Bruce for a fan base and a club which has lurched from one drama to another in the past 2 years? At least now there is a blank page. How blank is this page, though? How did the takeover happen? No one was expecting the takeover to be completed this week. The best anyone could have hoped for was the January 2022, when the arbitration between the consortium, led by financier Amanda Staveley, was scheduled in an attempt to settle a row with the Premier League about who would have control at the club. The Saudi state have accused the human rights abusers and was recently embroiled in a copyright row, which would have made it tricky for the takeover to go through based on the Premier League's owners and directors test. I wonder how thorough that test is, ladies and gentlemen. So what the consortium needed to do was prove that the kingdom's PIF, which would provide 80% of the money of the takeover, hence being, the majority shareholder, which was separate to the state. Difficult perhaps when the ruling leader, Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, I hope I said that right, is also listed as the PIF's chair. Very, very difficult and sticky indeed. But the legal assurances provided that has happened, it's understood there will be consequences if those agreements are broken. The consortium can also demonstrate how PIF already invests in companies, including McLaren F1 team, without state control. So, hey guys, look, we're doing it in Formula 1. Everything's okay. The precursor to the news and the takeover going through on Wednesday was Qatar broadcaster beIN Sports saying it's resolved its dispute about the Premier League football matches being broadcast illegally in Saudi Arabia. That was, of course, like the norm or Prem. It even had like a name taking the mick out of beIN, I think. So they were really unhappy about that. But by proving there is a separation between the Saudi state and the PIF, that issue becomes immaterial, but the claims that beIN had pressured the Premier League into blocking the takeover, the timing was interesting nonetheless, Alright, this is interesting. We're going to talk about Frank Lampard and other stuff as well in just a moment, but how have the fans reacted? There's no doubt the vast majority of fans were celebrating the Saudi Arabian-led takeover, no matter the potential distractions that come with it. A Newcastle Supporters Trust survey said that 93.8% of its members were in favour, down from 97% last year, and owner Ashley is told to get out of the club, end quote, which he often is being told to get out of the club, at nearly every match apparently. There you go. The situation has become toxic this season. Pause. The situation became toxic a long time ago. Newcastle are winless, second bottom of the Premier League, and the same fan survey said that 94% want Bruce to leave, quote, in the best interests of the club, end quote. Man, just walk away, Bruce, man. Do you know what I mean? Just walk away now. The takeover, they hope, will wash away their pain. PIF's assets of 250 billion dwarfs the wealth of Manchester City, Abu Dhabi owners, and Paris Saint-Germain Qatari owners, and can conjure up images of signing the French World Cup winner Kylian Mbappe and recruiting Antonio Conte as a replacement for Bruce. I mean, it's serious, man. Fans are absolutely delighted that the disastrous 14-year reign of Ashley is almost over. I mean, yes, and it has been disastrous, says Greg Tomlinson of NUST. They're looking forward to having hope and belief in their football club for the first time in many years. We don't demand that the club is winning trophies next season. We just want growth and a football club that gets better. Fans have been beaten into the ground. Look, before you make any sort of like... That's true. You have to remember, this isn't like, a decent club with, like, entitled fans getting some, like, really unsavory takeover. Newcastle fans haven't asked for much, but they've got absolute crap. So that's an important thing to note here in this story. Okay. Hold on, where am I? I've lost my place. Okay, how will Newcastle... I've scrolled down, I've lost my place. How will Newcastle manage the human rights concerns? Despite the Premier League's insistence that the PIF is separate from the Saudi state, human rights organisation and campaigners still believe the connection is clear. Amnesty International has urged the Premier League to change its owners and directors test to address its human rights issue. Its UK chief executive, Sacha Deshmukh, hope I pronounced that right, said, quote, "Ever since the deal was first talked about, we said it represented a clear attempt by the Saudi authorities to sports wash their appalling human rights record with the glamour of top-flight football." Saudi ownership of St James's Park was always as much about image management for Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman as his government as it was about football. Interesting. Other campaigners have told the BBC that the issue will not go away, even though the takeover is complete. Lina Al-Hatloul, I'm so sorry if I'm getting these pronunciations wrong, whose sister, Louajan, was held in prison for protesting about the woman's right to drive, says protests could occur at St James's Park, which would embarrass Saudi Arabia. Tomlinson says clubs are bought and sold at the highest level by billionaires and sovereign states, and we have not yet had a say in that. But as a supporters organisation, we will always support inclusion and be against discrimination of and abuse of human rights. Quote, we will use our influence to effect change where we can. Interesting. Managing the public relations of Saudi Arabian-backed takeover will be a key in the consortium's in-tray and will be likely to continue long after the deal is completed. But the country has already shown its capacity to handle those issues when hosting fights for British heavyweight Anthony Joshua, the Spanish Super Cup, and the F1 Grand Prix set for 2023. So they're already like integrated, you know what I mean, and doing stuff, and they'll feel like they can just carry that on into the Premier League football. Let's have a look at what their vision of the new owners have. Backed by the wealth of the PIF, the consortium, also made up of Staveley's PCP Capital Partners, Amanda Staveley of course, and British property investors, the Reuben brothers, who are also billionaires. So there's no shortage of money, and I think that's generally been the recurring theme throughout this, guys. Staveley, who is from Yorkshire, has spoken in the past admiration for Manchester City, who have been involved in the Abu Dhabi takeover 13 years ago, but she has also previously urged caution about lavish spending, preferring to highlight how City's owners have invested in the city of manager. True, they've absolutely done that. That should not be swept under the carpet. So there is hope for locals that Newcastle owners could follow a similar template. You'd imagine they'd, I guess, have to, maybe? Especially considering they've got more money. From a club perspective, one of the first items on the 48-year-old's agenda will be overhauling the structure of the club. Communications with supporters, good. Ashley is a rarely heard from guy. And communication from senior figures often comes from statements from managing director Lee Charnley, who's Bruce's go-to man when it comes to transfers. But there is no chief executive tasked with running the club. There is no director of football, and Bruce is the public figure who faces weekly questions about anything legal cases, lack of funds or players, which led to huge frustration this summer. Yeah, Bruce really needs to take time off. So, what will happen to Bruce? Bruce, a Newcastle fan himself, says he, quote, only wants what's best for the club, and if that means a takeover, then great. I imagine this was before the takeover, he said that. But with the new owners seeking to establish a bond with supporters, the 60-year-old's position will be under serious threat without any ability to sign players until January. A new big-name manager would signify their intent. Staveley praised former Newcastle boss Rafael Benitez when she first made her move to the club in 2018, but the Spaniard has made a fine start to Everton this season. Other fans have said they would like former Juventus, Italy and Chelsea manager Antonio Conte, who of course is available. Zidane's available as well, but I'm not sure how likely that is. Other managers on the market include former Chelsea boss Frank Lampard, former Sheffield United boss Chris Wilder, current coach Graham Jones could also work as an interim replacement. After a poor start to the Premier League season, the most important objective will be maintaining the club's top flight status. Right, and let's talk about the managers then. Antonio Conte would probably like it. He'll see a passionate fan base that will roar the fact that the team on, which he loves. He loved at Juventus. He loved it when Chelsea did that. And Inter, he loves like an emotional, passionate fan base. And he loves money. If they give him what he wants financially to build a team what he wants, he will love that. And no European football. Conte loves no European football. We know he loves that, so he can like really focus on the league. And God knows what they can do if he builds a really good team. Frank Lampard, perhaps a little bit more, certainly more an obtainable coach that would not demand much money. I think it would be a bad move for both. I'd love Frank Lampard to get another Premier League job. I really think Palace would have been good for him. He could have done what Vieira's doing, which is really positive work. There'll be so much pressure on the Newcastle. I've turned Dutch. The Newcastle job. I just think it might not be good for his career being dropped into that. It would be good for him to spend money and bring kids through, and maybe the Newcastle fans would take to Frank Lampard quite well. But I just worry if that's the right thing for his development as a young coach. He did a good job at Derby. He did a good job at Chelsea. He needs to go somewhere and develop other facets of his game, and being under the microscope for this Newcastle takeover, I'm not sure it's the one. Boys, this is a crazy story. It's done. It's happening. It's done. Let me know what you think down in the comment section. Let's start a conversation. Drop a like to show your sweet, passionate love to me if you want to. Subscribe if you're new, friends. I'm out. Enjoy the football. Peace.